speeches about corruption across the African continent. Has there been reprisal from corrupt African leaders targeted at you?
Of course, there are times when I've made speeches and I'm told, were you as national of this country, would have arrested you immediately. But luckily, so far, they have not arrested me. But I've irritated many. And I have no doubt in my mind that I have no shortage of enemies, particularly in officialdom. And I know, particularly in my country, I have no shortage of enemies within and without government. But this is the path that I have chosen. I could sit in my home and simply earn my salary or whatever I earn from whatever activities I'm engaged in and drive big cars. But there is a spirit that tells me that that is not good. There is a spirit that tells me that there is a message to be sent out there. And perhaps that is the contribution that we can make to prick people's conscience, to keep talking about this. And when you do this, you have no shortage of enemies, but there is also a group of men and women who appreciate what you are doing, and they embrace it, and they do it even better by engaging in practical activities. And this is what energizes us. And I pray and hope that this will continue. And I know there are many other people in Africa who are doing better things than I am. They may not enjoy the visibility that I'm beginning to enjoy in Africa, but they are doing great things in their little corners of the world. And I believe and pray and hope that the messages that we continue to give energizes them in some way. In a manner of speaking, this is a crusade.
That's right. Let me take you back home a little. I mean, does it bother you that people are beginning to, think differently about you because of your support for President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has been adjudged to be correct by some?
Which I find that very stupid, actually. I'm non-aligned and positively neutral, and anybody say, and those who are saying that is because as a lawyer I was instructed to appear for the Independent Electoral Commission. What is the role of a lawyer? The role of a lawyer is to urge a client's case. And those who think like that are simply people who are, let me say, stupid. Anybody who thinks that a lawyer representing a body is supporting anybody does not know what the role of a lawyer is. It's like saying that a doctor who is treating a patient with HIV/AIDS now supports AIDS. That is how absurd it is. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is once my conscience is free, and I think Winston Churchill said it very well, that if you turn to throw stones at every dog that barks at you, you'll never reach your destination. I'm not just about to turn and throw stones at every dog that barks. And this assumption in Africa that somebody has an opinion and therefore he wants you to follow that opinion is misguided. I have my own views about things and I have a professional duty to serve. And that is what I'll continue to do because I believe I'm right. And history, by God's grace, in the last 20 years that I've taken positions, have been vindicated. The position that I've taken by some divine direction, after a short time, I'm vindicated.
Let me ask this. What's the implication of the Supreme Court ruling against the elections in Kenya as far as judicial precedence is concerned?
I think, number one, I think that the majority judges got it wrong, knows that they were wrong. Why? When you are looking at an election and the expression of the will of the people, you ask yourself, where does the will of the people reside? It is in the vote. And if you doubt the vote, you count the votes. You don't ask whether the transmission of the results failed through an electronic process when you have been presented with the actual documents. This is without precedent in the world. And if you look at the minority ruling in that case, in a few years, the minority ruling, which even if you listened, was the more legally potent. So these judges who are in the majority were completely wrong. And they know it, I think, that they got the law wrong, they got the facts wrong, and it's now even emerging that their decision was based on fake forms, which must have been infiltrated by the petitioners. It is tragic. And this is one of the problems in Africa. And I see many people, particularly in the social media, which Africans are misusing very badly, that somebody is quick to send Twitter, somebody is quick to send a message on Instagram or Facebook. You ask them, have you ever read the judgment? No, I've not read the judgment. Then what are you tweeting about? What are you Facebooking about? Alexander Pope, the English philosopher, once said, a little modernity is a dangerous thing. Drink deep the western spring, or taste not. Africans, one of the problems that we have, particularly the African intelligentsia, we have had given unto us a medium called the tweet. 9 out of 10 Africans are misusing that medium. We were given a medium called Facebook. 9 out of 10 times we are misusing the Facebook. We are given Instagram. 9 out of 10 we are misusing Instagram. Africans must begin to be responsible. And before you send that send button in all these new media that we are using, read it again and ask yourself whether 10 days from the day you press the send button, you will be happy with what you said. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, we are misused. Look at how it was used to good effect during the Arab Spring. But when we are murdering each other, we don't use it. Instead, we recede into our primordial instincts, into our ethnic cocoons, and begin to speak in tongues that only destroy our people. But can Africans do the right thing? Yes. We have the capacity to do the right things. But we must interrogate and ask ourselves, where do we as a people want to go? A friend of mine from Cameroon once again was saying, after I listened to my memorial at Fela Kuti and I talked about Africa Agenda 2063, he said, that is too long. And I can't agree with him. That even as we think about Agenda 2063, we must break it into compartments. And in his view, we must spend 10 years, and now even disagree with him. We must spend 5 years resolving the African disputes, because as long as we have disputes and live wars, it will undermine our affairs. And that is why I said at the memorial that we must even consider calling all these rebel groups at a meeting and asking them, what do you want? What do you want? Tell us what you want. Are you rebels with a cause or rebels without a cause? Let us call Boko Haram. Let us call all these fringe bodies that are active in different countries, Al-Shabaab, and ask them the fundamental primary question, what do you want? Tell us. Once we know what you want, then we can move in the next direction of resolving it for the best interests of all the countries of Africa. These are hard choices, but history has demonstrated that that is the way to be done. As a high school student, I remember we used to hear about an urban guerrilla movement in West Germany called the Red Brigades. They resolved the problem through negotiation. The Irish Republican Army in the United Kingdom, through negotiation. The Basque rebellion in Spain, through negotiation. The Sandinistas, Sendero Luminoso in Latin America, through negotiations. That is what we must do. We can no longer afford the luxury of saying that there are certain things that are not negotiable. My own view is that everything must be negotiated in order to preserve our nation. Otherwise, we'll be in a constant state of conflict, and conflicts acquire a life of their own until the combatants forget what it is that they are fighting about. They're just engaged in combat.
One question people ask about strong advocates like yourself is this: why didn't you run for office to give life to your ideals? Why is Professor Patrice Lumumba?
That is the question that I was asked.
Of Kenya?
No, I ran in 2007 for a parliamentary seat, and I said, before I ran, I was asked the same question. And I ran one of the most efficient campaigns, in my view. I held within a constituency 250 meetings, town hall meetings, where I was interrogating the people. I gave nobody a single cent. My friends raised for me 3 million shillings. I spent 1.5, donated the balance to charity. But I told the people that the electorate does not respond to ideas. The person who won in the constituency where I was never campaigned, but the night before, he was distributing money to everybody. What stimulates the African electorate is instant solutions. The 500 naira that he or she is going to use to buy gari or to buy maize meal in my country. That is the problem. African electorate on average does not respond to ideas. That is what we must do. The African electorate, once we have re-engineered our governance, must ask themselves, what do they want? And you've seen consistently in almost in every other country in Africa, those who acquired power through the ballot are not our best men and women. They are our most corrupt men and women, invariably. Even the leaders we now praise initially could never have been elected. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in Uganda, when he contested in 1980s, failed. He came back through a guerrilla movement, succeeded. Now the Ugandans saw this man is good. Paul Kagame rescued the Rwandese. Now they think and know he's good. Meles Zenawi in Ethiopia. The African electorate must liberate themselves. Wole Soyinka, who is in Nigerian, how many times has he tried to run for office? Did he not run for the presidency? At one time here in Nigeria? Did the Nigerians elect him? The anti-corruption crusader Nuhu Ribadu, did he not run for office? Did the Nigerians elect him? Jean Ping in Gabon, he ran for election. Did they elect him? Africans don't elect men and women who wish them well.